Hello and welcome to the Martial Perspective. Today is Monday, June 8th, 2026. And today my special guest is Master Chad Behrend. Did I say that right, sir? Behrend?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, sir. So Master Chad Behrend is a Tung Soo Do and Taekwondo ITF practitioner, studied most of his life doing that. And he's also the founder and owner of Mudo Ye Uniforms. And we'll get into that. Fantastic article of clothing. Thank you for being on the show, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So let's get started here. When did you start training in martial arts?
I started 1984, end of 1984 into 1985.
Oh, wow. So you've been doing it the better part of 42 years.
41, 42, something like that. Yeah, over 40 for sure.
Okay. So you've been practicing quite a while. What made you get into martial arts?
Well, I always had a fascination with martial arts, and then there were different programs on TV and stuff that had martial arts in it. And growing up as a kid, I never really had any interest in sports through school, basketball, football. Growing up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, we didn't have a plethora of sports and activities to do through the schools like they do in the big cities. Otherwise, I probably would have done gymnastics or something like that. My sister did basketball, but like I said, I didn't have any interest in that or football or baseball. So I wanted to do martial arts, and coming from a family that did not have a lot of money, my parents kind of put that on the back burner, and they're like, well, let's just wait and see, what happens, and if you still have interest in it, and kind of went from there.
Did pop culture have a big impact on you with the martial arts? Like, I know right around that time that you started martial arts, the movie Karate Kid came out. I think that was 1983 or 84, maybe.
I
If I'm
think it
not
was
mistaken.
84. Yep. That was one of the big ones. And also there was a TV show with Shokasugi and I can't remember the other actor's name. It was called The Master, and Shokasugi was a ninja, and actually the other character was a ninja as well, a good ninja. And so they'd go back and forth. So those were two of the main shows that really got me interested in the martial arts, besides all the movies that I'd watch on VHS and whatnot.
That's fantastic, sir. So going back to 1984, a young Master Behrend is starting his Taekwondo journey. When you first walked into your first dojang, for you folks that don't know, a dojang is the same thing as a dojo. It is means school in Korean. When you first walked into that dojang, sir, what'd you think? What was going through your mind?
Well, I walked in, and they're definitely not like the schools that are out there today. Carpeting, very small, very stuffy, very sweaty. Um, the canvas hanging and kicking bag was full of dried blood splotches, and basically the dojang smelled like sweat and feet, basically. And my mom was like, "You really want to train here?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And my first class actually, my dad got home from work at like 5 o'clock. So my first class that I took was actually an adult class at 6 p.m. on like a Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting.
Mm-hmm. So it's not like a dojang you walk in today, where it's got all the nice
No
padding
air
and.
conditioning. We had the front door propped open, the back door propped open, and then a fan blowing the sweaty air from the front to the back.
Mhm.
And that's where I trained.
So odds are you had a stuffy old Korean guy teaching.
No, actually, they were white Americans. They were
Really?
white Americans.
Wow.
One was second degree, and the other one was third dan. And
Hmm.
then the Grand Master was actually in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Hmm.
He was there for many years. Now he's out in Chantilly, West Virginia. Grandmaster
Hmm.
Byung-kan Cho. So
Hmm.
he was the Kwanjung that I trained under, in my more senior years.
Gotcha. So tell me a little bit about your lineage, sir. You started out ITF, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So my master Byung Cho, he had a large school in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He when he originally learned and studied, um, he was always Mudokwan, but he started off doing Tongsudo as
Mm-hmm.
a child, and then later on, due to politics, he had switched over to ITF Taekwondo. So I started ITF Taekwondo um, 1985, something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of the infancy of that organization at that time too. My membership number was 2788, so it was pretty low. Later down the road, um, people had switched over to WTF and the Kukiwan. So then we still did the all the ITF Youngs and stuff like that, but then we had switched over to WTF.
Mm-hmm.
Learned all of those, and then later on, I'd gone to Korea and switched over and to learn the Tong Sido style in the system.
Very good. Very, very good. So, do you think it's? I mean, I'm thinking that this is. I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you: do you think it's practical to learn more than one style of martial art? And if so, why? If not, why not?
Initially, when I was much younger,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was important to study just one system.
Mm-hmm.
And to a certain extent, that's true. You should get some type of base foundation
Mm-hmm.
in whatever system you want that to be. But I think it is definitely a very good thing to expose yourself to different martial arts, different system, different styles. And
Mm-hmm.
although that, some of the techniques might be a little different and different names and whatnot, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the basic principles are still the same throughout the different systems.
Mm-hmm.
So I,
Well,
I do think it's a good idea that a little bit later on that students explore a little bit and try to expand their knowledge in their education of the different arts. I know it's even with my grandmaster at the time, it was considered taboo to go outside of the school, go to other people's events, go to other people's seminars, um, different arts that
mm-hmm.
in the 80s and 90s that really didn't happen. People just
Mm-hmm.
didn't do that. Um, Also, the availability of the different arts, at least where I came from, you weren't exposed. They just weren't available at that time. Now there's schools of every style everywhere in every city, so it's kind of a good thing now for people that are training later on in the years.
It really is. But the one thing I notice, so I started training pretty late in life. I started in my early 30s. I'm 44 now. So the taekwondo, I started with WT, and my lineage is Mudokwan, so I switched over to Tong Sudo under tutelage of Master Darren Warren and Grandmaster AJ Perry. So the one thing I just realized this, and it hit kind of hard to me. The martial arts that I'm learning is what is normal to me. Unbeknownst to me, the martial arts I'm learning is nothing like the martial arts that you learned in the early 80s because it was a lot tougher. So training has changed. The environment that you train has changed. The rules to tournaments have changed. And I don't know if it's for the better or for the worse, but society's changed. And then, like I said, it's almost like a kinder, gentler martial art now. Um, what's your take on that, sir?
Well, when I started in 84, 85, coming up
Hmm.
under a Korean grandmaster, things were very strict. You always stood at attention. You always yelled out "Yes, sir." Um,
Hmm.
he walked around a lot of times at the different events with the bamboo jukdo, and if your stance wasn't right, you'd get snapped in the leg with it.
Hmm.
Um, even when I was in Korea, probably 8 years ago, um, training with some of the most senior Mudokwan grandmasters there, um, they don't play games. If they don't like your stance and you know how your stance is supposed to be, they would just basically kick your legs out from under you and let you fall on the mat.
Hmm.
and let you know to correct yourself because you're not doing it to their particular standard.
Right.
For an example, as far as training standards and stuff go back then, my white belt to yellow stripe test, that's the ITF standard then, white, yellow stripe, yellow, green, stripe, green. Um, my first break that I had to do is flying sidekick on a full board as white belt for my yellow stripe.
Mm.
Now you see schools, a lot of schools, that happens at red black belt.
Yes.
Um, my green belt test, jumping twisting back kick on a full board,
Hmm.
which I did not successfully do either. It took me like 8 tries, and I was crying, and I was 8 years old, nine
Right.
years old, like
Hmm.
that, eight. Um, and Grandmaster Cho goes, "Chat." He goes, "You no cry, you break board." I mean, there was no, oh, it's gonna be okay, and
Hmm.
just focus and stuff. He just said you're gonna do it, and you're not gonna pass your test until you do. So
Right.
I was there a while, but I mean, I got through it, and it definitely it builds character, and it builds uh, good discipline.
Yes.
So
Well.
I don't miss. I mean, I do miss training like that, but
Hmm.
in 2026 with the laws the way they are, and uh, students are softer. Not necessarily that's a bad thing. It's just things are different. You know.
They really are, and I think the internet has a lot to do with that because back in the day there was no internet, so you didn't hear about all the evils in the world. Now parents are seeing kid abductions, they're seeing um inappropriate relationships between teachers and students, and then I mean you're you have access to all this news, and it hits they put it right out there for everybody. And I think that's an element of fear that parents have, and I think because of that, that is why society has changed, and that is why maybe martial arts training has changed a little bit, and they put these kids in a bubble, and they're I don't know if it's fear of how they're being treated, or what. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, a lot of what we're seeing and stuff in the media, like you said, we were never exposed to that.
No.
Back in the old days, and it is. I think it is good that you know students and parents are more aware of what's going on in the world and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think that children are being prepared um, for what really they should be learning
Hmm.
as far as awareness, and um, they're just not being taught the things that I believe should be taught to children these days, as far as paying attention to your surroundings. When you go into a movie theater, do you know where the exits are? Not only if there's an active shooter situation, but as far as if there's a fire or other type of emergency and you need to get out, do you know where your exits are? When you're on an airplane, they always say there's two exits in front of you and two exits behind you. Do most people look and see where those actually are? They probably don't.
No.
So, um, and a lot of my training and stuff too comes from my law enforcement background. So
Hmm.
I went to school for law enforcement. I worked with the sheriff's department for 2 years,
Hmm.
and then I had decided that maybe this career wasn't going to be for me,
Hmm.
as far as my personality and stuff goes. On a
Right.
traffic stop one day, an old guy punched my sunglasses off my face, and by the time my glasses hit the ground, so did he. And
Hmm.
at that point, I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to need a different career. So that's what I went into to radiology, and I thought that it was going to be not only more lucrative, but it was going to be better for my mental health and also better for people in the community.
Wow. I commend you for that. There's a lot of folks out there that get into law enforcement, and once they're in law enforcement, they stay in it, and even knowing that it might not be the career for them, they're too stubborn to realize it. So, um, I've been in law enforcement for 17 years. I've been in law enforcement,
Oh,
and
nice, nice. I didn't
and
even know that.
Yes, sir. I'm a deputy sheriff here in Ohio. I love my job. But you're right. It takes a special kind of person. But I commend you for realizing, hey, this isn't for me. I mean,
Right.
that's awesome. I mean, you don't see that very often. So that's a huge kudos to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, a couple of years ago when we had all the events going on in Minneapolis and stuff downtown,
Oh
if
yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying the officer was right or wrong, but if the officer that is now sitting in prison, if he would have realized later in his
Mm.
career that maybe, you know what, I'm done with law enforcement and I'm over dealing and working with people, maybe I should move on to something else. The situation might not have happened the way that it did.
You're absolutely right. And that brings me to, you just I I love this conversation because now I'm getting into thoughts that I haven't had in any other interview. So this is going to be a brand new question for you. So law enforcement officers burnout is a real thing. You get burned out with doing the same calls. I mean, you need a break, and that's why they have vacation. That's why they have personal days and things like that. So with that said, do you think in martial arts instructors get burned out? And if they get burned out, how do you combat that?
Absolutely, they do get burnt out.
Mhm,
When I ran my school in Wisconsin, that was 5 6 days a week,
mhm,
um, three 4 classes a day,
mhm,
and yes, you do get burnt out. But after looking back on my job that I have now and doing the stuff that I did in law enforcement and stuff like that for a couple of years,
mhm.
um, they should just maybe take a little bit more time off and do a little more vacation time and just be very appreciative that they're able to make a difference in people's lives dealing with children. It is stressful being a martial art instructor, but I believe it's a million times worse for a law enforcement officer or for somebody that's working in healthcare under you know very strict conditions with very little staff is what I've been doing the last 23 years.
Oh,
So
especially when
there's
COVID
there's
hit,
a
it was
lot of
even
days
worse.
that I'd like to go back and say, God, I wish I could leave healthcare and all because the burnout that I had as a martial art instructor isn't like the burnout that I have now as being a healthcare worker.
Very well stated, sir. So, what was the biggest obstacle you faced personally in your training, growing up in martial arts? When I say obstacle, it could be anything from fear, it could be monetary, it could be lack of understanding, it could be anything. What was the biggest obstacle that you faced, sir?
Well, I mean, my family didn't come from a lot of money.
Hmm. Mine neither.
My dad worked for Sears his whole career, and my mom, you know, worked as a nurse's aide at that time before she ended up working for the county Menominee. But when I started, we really had no money, so they had hockey books back in the day,
Hmm.
that were like flip through coupons,
Yeah.
and that's actually how I got started doing martial arts. Is my mom went through one of the hockey books and it was all this martial art classes in Wisconsin. I was in Michigan, but it's right across the river,
Hmm.
and it was 30 free days. So ripped the ticket out of the book, and that's how I started doing martial arts because my parents didn't have any money for me to do martial arts. And I did
Wow.
that 4 or 5 times, and finally the instructor says, "Well, enough with the hockey book coupons. You either need to decide that you're going to do it or you're not going to do it." And I was bullied through school, and I was beat up, and I was pushed down on the playground, and one day I was coming out of school, and I don't even know what grade I was in, and a kid tackled me, and he was kind of on top of me and bullying me basically, and my mother actually wrestled him to the ground and whooped
Wow.
him. And then she said that day, she goes, "You're doing martial arts."
Hmm.
So that was the deciding factor of me taking lessons after that.
Wow.
And
It's
not even
fun.
not even just not even just learning the self defense and stuff like that, just having the confidence to stand up to people and not take their crap
Right.
was
Right.
huge.
And it's funny you say that because out of all my interviews, I've had some pretty influential martial artists, from Olympic gold medalist to, covers of Black Belt magazine to world champions. I've interviewed big and small. And, the common thing that I hear most is they started because of a bully issue, or
Oh yeah,
they grew up in a very poor neighborhood, and they had to run to school because if they walked they were going to get jumped. And I remember Grandmaster Perez, 1992 gold medalist in taekwondo.
yes,
And
sir. I know him. I
if you
attended many of his sparring seminars. Excellent.
Right. And he stated that he started martial arts because he didn't want to be bullied anymore. I mean, he was a small guy, and he grew up in the wrong side of town, and he had to run to school. So he stated that. So, that's one of the common denominators of martial arts of why a lot of people get started is because, you know, society can be very cruel. It's not very accepting to all walks of life. I mean, it's almost like a predatory um society. I mean, they look for the weakest person or what they think might be the weakest person, and they go after them. So, it's either sink or swim. You learn to defend yourself, or you learn the street way, or you learn the martial arts way. uh I like the martial arts way because it teaches you a lot more discipline. And you know
Exactly.
one thing that martial arts is that really stunned me when I started martial arts, and I started in my 30s, mind you. I started because my son wanted to do it, and he wouldn't do it unless I did it with him. But it this You there, sir?
Oh, I think I lost you for a second.
Okay.
Yep, you're
Yeah,
back.
yeah. So, martial arts teaches you not to fight, and that surprised me because I always thought it was a combative sport. It's like UFC, get in there, and or Ultimate Fighting, the Ultimate Fighter like TV show, get in there and beat the crap out of someone. But that's not what the premise is by any means.
Right.
So, mm, mm, mm. What is your fondest memory of your journey thus far, sir?
One of my fondest memories. I would say when I went to Korea like 8, 9 years ago.
Hmm.
Not only did I meet the most senior Budokan grandmasters there in
Hmm.
Korea, um, got to hang out with friends, explore the Korean culture.
Amazing.
A buddy and I wanted to do a photo shoot, and all of the different temples and historic sites were incredibly busy. And we had found one that was kind of like off the beaten path behind this building, and there were probably only 25 people at this temple instead
Hmm.
of 300. And he had walked over to me, and he didn't speak English, but he looked at my belt and he waved me over, and he like cleared the entire park for us to be able to do our photo shoot, which was incredibly awesome.
Right.
So we had the whole temple to ourselves. Any pose that we wanted to do, he had like blocked off the whole thing because I'm sure he had known that I traveled, from America to be able to do this.
Yes, sir.
My grandmaster, he had called Kukiwan because that's where he had gotten his ninth degree through
Hmm.
World Taekwondo Federation. There, he had called the head guy at Kukiwan, not the president. The president wasn't in when I was there, but another very high up senior member there
Hmm.
had me in his office. We had a meeting, and he had given me a bunch of information and stuff like that. And we went and did the Kukiwan museum tour and stuff like that. And then we went out for lunch afterwards and had a traditional Korean meal. Which, by the way, you don't want to be wearing your dobak when you do that. Otherwise, they give you a big, huge apron like this because they know once the gochujang red sauce is on your dobak, it's never going to come out ever.
No, and you got a very nice uniform, sir. I'd hate to see that happen, but
Thank you. Thank you.
So when you were in Korea, I got to ask, I've lived in Korea for about a year and a half. One thing that surprises the absolute bejesus out of me is I didn't see one martial arts when I lived over there. Did you?
I'm sorry, you cut out one martial art. What?
School,
Um,
like civilian school. I didn't see one.
yeah, I saw when we were downtown Seoul, kind of over by the shopping district. I remember
Hmm.
seeing one Hapkido school, but
Hmm.
that's pretty much about it. Yeah,
Right.
I didn't see a whole lot either.
No, a lot of people don't know this. Uh, they teach the martial arts in school. It's part of their curriculum. And then when they get to the military, they continue their training in martial arts. And you can either stick with it or you can abandon it, after you do your 2-year commitment for the military. So a lot of folks don't know that, but I thought that was really weird because I wasn't really into martial arts when I was in the military. But looking back, I saw a lot of tailors. I saw a lot of food places. I saw a lot of bars, and that's about it.
Yeah, a lot of their
So,
martial arts programs, like you said, are either done through the school or done through the universities. You don't
yes,
see
sir.
dojongs everywhere like you would think when you get there. I
Nope.
guess it's the same in Okinawa too. I mean, you have to really like hunt and peck to find the dojo that you want to train at because people think they're on every block and they're everywhere, and I guess that's just not the case in Okinawa either.
No. In fact, the dojongs and the dojos are actually at people's houses, and they go train there. And I didn't know that. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, so do you think the sport aspect of taekwondo is hurting the traditional aspect of the martial art or of martial art of taekwondo?
Um, that's a hard
I,
question because
yes.
it affecting the traditional styles and the traditional learnings?
Mhm.
Yes, it is, but it also made the arts popular by having it in of course, the '88 Olympics in Seoul, Korea, as a demonstration sport, and
Mhm.
then '92 with Herb Perez and Juan Marino and whatever else. So it's kind of a I guess you need both in this day and age.
Mhm.
A lot of more sport taekwondo schools are actually trying to like get back and do more traditional training and get back more to the discipline and more of the traditional side of the martial arts instead of having so much sport orientation.
Well put, sir. Well put. What is the single principle that has shaped your practice the most, and how do you apply it? What's the most important thing that you've learned, and how do you apply it in your everyday martial art life?
I would say discipline.
Mhm.
Um, Doing the things that need to be done, not only in martial arts but life in general,
Mhm.
is discipline. Whether you're working on doing something in education and you need to study and you don't want to study, you have to force yourself with discipline to do that. Same thing with martial arts. Um, Perseverance and discipline, I'd say, are the two biggest things to just keep moving forward. Um, even in my martial arts business, there's a lot of naysayers and people were saying, we don't need that, and you're charging too much,
Mhm.
and on and on. But perseverance does pay off, and
Yes.
discipline to be able to stay focused and continue and make your dreams happen. They can
Mhm.
be small dreams, they can be big dreams, but as long as you continue to work towards your end goal, and if
Mhm.
you complete that, then create another goal and continue on with that.
Interesting. So I took a lot of heat over this next part about 2 months ago. I shared something, and it was a picture of this old. It was a cartoon picture, but it was a picture of an old cartoon master, and he was opening up his school, and you could just see that he was tired, and you could see that he was worn out, and you know, when you walk into a school, you don't see that side of the school owner. The school owner is usually pretty energetic and ready to go, and a lot of times they hide what's really going on because they have personal problems. They have, they got problems at home. They got, they might be thinking about financial stuff. They might be thinking about, relationship stuff. I mean, they're humans too. But you don't see the tired school owners. But they're out there. What's your take on that, sir?
Well, I mean, a lot of the uh, a lot of the more senior school owners, I'm sure they are, tired and a little bit burnt out and stuff, and that's when they finally realize that, okay, I'm going to pass the torch on to one of my students that is full of the enthusiasm and the motivation and is ready to go out there and really like take it on and help people. And I think that's okay.
Hmm.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, my master, he runs a school called New Wave Global Martial Arts. It's in Newton Falls, Ohio, near Youngstown, Warren area, Northeast Ohio. And we were talking a couple weeks ago, and you could just he always gives it his all. But I got to the class last week, and I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm ready. I'm ready to learn my new form. I'm ready to go. Let's do this." And he just smiled at me. He goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I needed that." He goes, "You're energizing me." So I think the students drive the instructors 99.9% of the time,
Well,
and
they
it's just
can. They
yeah.
they definitely can. I mean, some students are there to really learn and to absorb as much information as they can and learn
Mhm,
rapidly. And then there's some students that are there because their parents sent them there and they paid, and they're going to be there regardless,
mhm.
whether they want to learn or not.
Right.
So I guess it's kind of a balancing act. So yeah, I'm sure for the head school owner, if somebody's like super motivated and they want to learn and they want to train and they want to do different aspects, I'm sure that is very motivational for them.
Mhm. So my next question, it's more of a statement, but it's a question. So you got some martial arts schools. It could be any martial art, really, not just Taekwondo, not Muay Thai, Tang Soo Do, Judo Kwan, or anything. And it's just it doesn't have to be even Korean martial arts. A lot of I've seen schools that push kids through the curriculum very very fast, and they get their black belt. Even good schools when you get a black belt, do you think some of these schools might be selling a false sense of security? Because when these kids get their black belt, they think, okay, I'm ready to go. I can defend myself in the street. The street's very different than a dojang or a school. There's rules, there's etiquette, there's things you have to follow in a school. Street has no rules. So, in your opinion, do you think maybe some martial arts might be selling a false sense of security?
I'm sure they probably are.
Hmm.
There
So,
were times through my career and stuff. I thought to myself, okay, the things that were being taught, um, they're not going to be the most effective. Are they fun to do in class? Yes, they are. I think there needs to be it needs to be differentiated between, okay, we're going to do this type of technique for self defense. It's not necessarily a street technique that's going to be
mhm,
super helpful, but you are going to learn balance. You're going to learn, the technique, and as far as torquing and as far as leverage goes. So
mhm,
you're going to be learning different things that are going to help you later on.
mhm.
Not necessarily that it's going to be a technique that's going to work great on a street. Kind of like taekwondo sparring.
Right.
Early on in my career, I thought, yeah, national champion, Muay national champion sparring, I can really handle myself. Well, guess what? That wasn't the case.
No.
And I wish I wouldn't have had to have learned that the hard way. But when I did learn that, when I learned that, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this kick, and next thing you know, my kick's already 2 foot fat past the person, and they're standing right here in front of me. Now, what am I going to do? So then you learn my training after that started switching into doing a lot of up close fighting techniques and elbows and strangles and chokes and neck cranks and arm bars and groundwork. So was it great at that time that I had to find out the hard way that Taekwondo sparring wasn't going to work in the street? I mean, it could. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's certain things that I suppose could work. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Herb Perez, he could kick so fast that, 2/10 of a second or whenever he could kick somebody, they wouldn't even see it. They'd be on the ground. But unfortunately, I wasn't at that level at that time.
I wouldn't
So,
fight him.
no, me either. Me either. And a
Mhm.
funny thing about that master is one of the seminars that I took with him. He was just finishing up law school when he was in Wisconsin doing several seminars.
Mhm.
So I'd like to actually reconnect with him and find out what happened with law school, if he passed the bar and did law, or if he just continued to run his martial arts school or whatnot.
No, I believe
Which I
he
think he
became
did, didn't he?
he did become a lawyer, I believe. Yes.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yep.
I still have all of his notes. I still teach the plyometric exercises and stuff when I teach sparring camps. So
Yeah,
it's
he's a
all excellent
fantastic
stuff.
guy. Absolutely. So, what makes a great martial arts student as opposed to an average or below average student, in your opinion, sir?
Somebody that wants to actually train and put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Training growing up, I did at least 4 days a week, probably 5 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
several classes in a row. So
Wow.
you advance at a much greater level than nowadays, per se, somebody that takes a 1 hour class twice a week. By the time you do your warm-ups and whatnot, you have about 35 minutes of training and then you're done. You do that twice a week,
Mm-hmm.
you're not learning. All you're doing is maintaining what you have,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. Um, you're not expanding your knowledge. So
Right.
people need to be consistent and they need to put in the work.
Interesting.
And
That
and
leads me.
even now, advanced students, everybody wants to be seventh, eighth, ninth degree.
Yes.
It's like, to me, it really doesn't matter. Um, if I'm out on the streets and something happens and they
Mm-hmm.
say, "Yeah, you're eighth degree black belt," no, nobody cares. But
Right.
you have to put in the time and you have to put in the work. I still attend different seminars and several years back when I was still in Wisconsin, there was a Japanese karate and jujitsu school up the road. And I thought, I'm going to go over there and introduce myself. Great people. I still train with them. It's the Shirite Bujitsu Kai.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Pounder actually came here last year and we did a seminar. Great people. It's You just have to expand your knowledge and you just have to continue training.
Absolutely. So that leads me to my next question, Skirt. What skills and knowledge are lost over time if you stop training regularly, and what skills can you retain?
Well, I'd say not necessarily a skill, but your flexibility will be gone like that if you don't um, stay with it and keep up with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Your sharpness, your focus, your concentration, your power, you lose that almost as fast as your flexibility. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not constantly working on power and power generation, whether it be into foam shields, focus targets is not for power generation. It never has been. It's specifically for focus. People get that wrong, and that's how they get knee injuries and elbow and shoulder injuries because they're trying to powering through a pad that has no resistance. So heavy bag. I have a Makiwara here down in my basement that I hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's made out of oak. You need resistance against your techniques to maintain power.
Interesting. So we're coming to the tail end of our interview, but I want to touch on, so you started this business that you got,
Yes, sir.
Mudo Ye. How
Yes,
did you
sir.
get into Mudo Ye premium uniforms, sir?
Well, I would attend different events and seminars and tournaments and stuff like that, and there were a lot of things that people needed that weren't available on the market. So I
Hmm.
started putting some ideas together, and then went through the whole thing with having drawings done, submitting to the United States Patent and Trademark Office,
Hmm.
got it patented and trademarked. So, and for the Korean stylist, there really wasn't a good premium uniform available. The best premium uniform that was around at the time, that's kind of gone by the wayside. They still have it in Korea, but not so much here in America, was the Pine Tree, the Sengmusa
Hmm.
uniforms, traditional Taekwondo and Tang Soo uniforms. Even those, there were a lot of things that were lacking as far as poor quality fabrics, no
Hmm.
ventilation, uh, no moisture wicking materials. Do you need all of that stuff? No, not necessarily, but it is definitely nice to have
Hmm.
pockets in your uniforms when you go to tournaments and you go to events. You have a place to stick your lunch money. A interior pocket for your cell phone, hidden pockets in your pants for whatever you want to carry around. So that's how I kind of got into it.
Hmm.
The Japanese uniforms had premium products available, and a lot of people know them as Shirito. Shirito can go $350. Tokyoto is another big one.
Hmm.
Um, so there's premium uniforms for karate stylists, but there was no premium uniform for Korean stylists, and that's why I filled that niche.
Nice. So I've seen one of your uniforms. My Grandmaster AJ Perry, he wears one. It is a
Yes,
fantastic
sir.
uniform. It's heavy. It's durable. Um, it's I would absolutely go out on a limb and say, that might be the last uniform that you'll ever really have to buy because it will last you that long.
They
If
do
you were
last a long time.
right, it's just it's a fantastic uniform. It snaps when you're doing your hung. It's a sharp looking uniform. Now you offer the tung sudo uniform and what else?
So I do the this one looks black, I think, in the video. I don't have my glasses on, but this looks
Nope.
probably black in the video. This is the midnight blue
Mm-hmm.
trimmed uniform for Budokan. Most Subato practitioners will wear the blue.
Mm-hmm.
For the Taekwondo Mudokan people, I also have the black trim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing just white for the karate practitioners, and I've done several different products. Make it a specific brand for the Shurite Bujitsu Kai
Mm-hmm.
senior members. So I've just done that. I had some people contact me about making a Okinawan style uniform, which is now in production. So I kind of got all different things going here.
That's
Keeps me
fantastic.
busy, keeps me out of trouble.
Probably helps your pocketbook a little bit too. Nice.
Well, it helps. It helps.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
with the increase in the tariffs and the production costs and the you know cost to produce just the fabric alone. For an example, 1,000 meters of my 14-ounce canvas, that was over $6,000 to have that made before shipping to the factory to have it cut apart and made into uniforms.
Oh wow.
So none of that extra costs I've pushed on to the customer.
Hmm.
Amazon does that. Everybody does that where they take those additional fees and push it onto the customer. I
Hmm.
haven't done that. I'm absorbing that cost because I feel it's a great product and I'm still trying to help the martial arts community. I'm
Hmm.
not trying to rip people off like these big multi-billion dollar companies that are passing on those additional tariff fees and supply costs to the customer. I'm not doing that.
Well, I would put your uniform up against Takedo or I would put it above Pro Force or any of those big box stores, big box martial arts stores, I should say. The AWMA. I mean, I just think it's fantastic piece of or article of clothing. I really do. Now, what is the cost of your uniform, sir?
238 is what I'm
238.
charging right now.
Okay,
And doing
that's.
this, the people that are watching the interview and stuff, there'll be a 20% discount with the promo
Mhm,
code that I sent you.
mhm. I will post that up. It will be actually on the bottom of this podcast, the entire show, so they will not miss that. I promise you that.
Oh, perfect.
Um,
Great. Thank you.
so where can we order a Mudo Ye uniform, sir?
You can either contact me directly through
Hmm.
Facebook on
Hmm.
Messenger or WhatsApp. Phone number is
Hmm.
920-217-6846, or you can just text me directly. Or through the website, it's moodoye premiumuniforms.com. MOODOYEA premiumuniforms.com.
Outstanding, sir. Um, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I usually keep the interviews right around 45 minutes, between 45 minutes and an hour, because sometimes I just can't hold people's attention that long. I mean, that's a long time to hold somebody's attention. But I'm thankful for our listeners. I'm thankful for the people that tune in and watch our show. Um, with that being said, is there any words of wisdom from Master Chad Behrend that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Just keep training, stay focused, and push forward.
Thank you, sir. Well, stay with me and we'll talk about it. But I want to thank all of the listeners. Martial arts can be a tough thing. Sometimes people struggle. Reach out to one another, network, take care of one another. And as always, Tung Su.
Tong Su. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
감사합니다.